That vote of confidence from my colleagues is welcome. I mean, of course, everybody wanted the opportunity to speak after that perler from Mr Goldsmith. There was quite a lot of competition on this side of the House to draw further attention to the speech that Mr Goldsmith has just made. Mr Goldsmith just told New Zealand students that they need to wean themselves off their entitlement culture. If people at home heard that, Mr Goldsmith said it would take a lot longer than 5 years for them to wean themselves off their entitlement culture. That is Mr Goldsmith's O-Week message to the students of New Zealand. Students need to wean themselves off entitlement culture. What's that? It's an entitlement they have to pay back, Mr Robertson points out. Now, this of course, is a boon to this side of the House because it points towards the very difference that we're debating here. We have in this bill encapsulated the National Party's punitive approach toward students. They do not like the interest-free loan scheme. They never have. They introduced the scheme with interest. And then Labor introduced the interest-free scheme, and of course, subsequently, they introduced some administrative fees as a substitute for an interest charge because they couldn't get away with putting an interest charge back on. It's O-Week, so I'm hoping that those students at home who are not out doing other things like toga parties and other culturally enriching things that students do during orientation week are at home reminding themselves of the stance of Mr Goldsmith and that message that students need to wean themselves off entitlement culture. Now, Mr Goldsmith lives in a world where this is, in his view, free money. This is free money. It's a wrong that students are given loans to better themselves, better their lot, and better their lot for their family and the communities around them. And I think we just need to watch Mr Goldsmith's speech again. I'm sure other colleagues will comment on it as well, but I'll come back to some material that's actually in the bill. I can see colleagues wanting to share Mr Goldsmith's messages on Facebook, and I urge students to watch his speech. In a previous life, Mr Chair, I ran a university college down in Otago, and I am very, very aware of how much some students struggled to meet the payments that were required of them, not just in the college that I was running, but other similar colleges across Otago. And that is in a place where the cost of living is somewhat lower than other areas in the country. And the reason they struggled is because the fees that are charged just to live reflect the real cost. Obviously, a college can buy in bulk, can get some discounts, can do things cheaper perhaps than an ordinary citizen could do, but they still can't be low enough and affordable enough to meet the kind of demands that students have placed on them financially. And a student who works 40 hours a week, for example, in a minimum wage job through the whole summer holiday is going to really struggle to pay the deposit at the beginning of the year for a hall of residence in New Zealand. And that is the way our country is structured. The wages are kept low by this government. It has had only tiny incremental advances in the minimum wage. It's also got to do with the costs of tertiary education and the lack of generosity in the student loan scheme. Now, this is what Mr Goldsmith calls an entitlement culture, the ability to eke through. The ability to eke through on borrowed money is what Mr Goldsmith is calling an entitlement culture. We on this side of the House view education as an investment in our young people, and we note the changes proposed in Part 2 of the bill that really look at the minutiae of how the formula will apply to those who are shareholders in close companies, those who use motor vehicles and have voting interests. And these details are important. They're important to get right to make sure that the system itself is fair, but they do not get to the heart of the issue, which is about generosity. And we don't see that so much covered in Part 2 of the bill. The formula there, of course, that's laid out. Mr Goldsmith seemed to be occupied with Part 1 of the bill, and we notice he talked about the repayment amounts for those arrested at the border. But actually coming back, we see that Part 2 actually has a formula that adjusts for net income in the income year and is calculated using a formula that looks like a mathematical formula, A times brackets B minus C, closed brackets. And that formula is applied, Mr Chair, in different ways according to the voting interest, the nature of the company that's held, the dividends paid, and so on. These are important details in respect of fairness in the system. But I'll come back to the point that Mr Goldsmith raised about an entitlement culture. I simply cannot take that seriously, and I think few New Zealanders and any New Zealanders who've studied will struggle to take that seriously. It might come from someone who ran and lost in Epsom with a particular worldview that they were promoting, that thought that Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan were good but didn't go far enough. It might come from that particular worldview that this is an entitlement culture, but we on this side of the House view those who borrow to better themselves and want to repay that loan as doing a good thing for themselves and for society, and we believe that this loan scheme is a good thing. That's why Labour introduced the student loan scheme in an interest-free format in the first place, so that we could have this paying forward to each generation, this money that would better our society over time. I want to take a minute, just as I reach the end of my time speaking, to give a special welcome, a shout out to the students arriving in Dunedin North, the finest electorate in the country, at the oldest and finest university in the country. Those students are very welcome in Dunedin. It's great to see their energy returning to the city. We are proud on this side of the House to support students, to support the interest-free student loan scheme that we introduced, to support more generous allowances over time, working towards making education more and more accessible. Not like the changes that this government's brought in, restricting the amount of years students can study. We see students coming into my electorate office who now are studying medicine but have had their funding discontinued. They cannot complete their medical degrees, for goodness sake. We have students who have undertaken a master's degree, put off drawing down their payments because they had children and were relying on the payment in their last year to get them through, that now find that they've used up their loan ability and their allowance availability, who are now stranded, unable to complete degrees. We see a government here that is restricting access to education in every way it can. It is making sure that its own people are looked after, but it doesn't care about the most of New Zealand, the greater part of New Zealand society that is struggling to get ahead under a government that really doesn't seem to have a plan to share the benefits of any recovery we're seeing, a government that's out of touch with New Zealand, a government that doesn't seem to care about our students. On this side of the House we say, welcome students, welcome to Dunedin, have a great time, make the most of your educational opportunities. We support you with student-free, with interest-free student allowances and interest-free student loans and student allowances. We support you on this side of the House. Don't elect those guys again. They're looking for opportunities to take opportunity away from you. On the other side of the House, they're interested in preserving the capital, the people who have the wealth. They're not interested in seeing people progress up the ladder to make themselves better, make their families better, to increase their opportunities. They're against progress. They're only for entrenched interests, and we support ordinary New Zealanders who want to get ahead, and that's why we support the student loan scheme and its interest-free form, and that's why we support student allowances that are generous, and we on the Labour Party say, welcome students, great to have you in town.
I'm going to call Tracy Martin.
Thank you, Mr Chair. And